Over the icy expanse of the Baltic Sea, a Royal Air Force Typhoon roared toward an unidentified contact drifting near NATO airspace. What looked like a routine intercept quickly turned into something far more significant. The radar return was faint, shifting, and unlike any Su-27 or Tu-95 Russia had sent before. Command soon confirmed it. A Su-57 Felon, Moscow's elusive fifth-generation stealth fighter. The Typhoon pilot knew this was no exercise. For 20 tense minutes, two of the world's most advanced jets shared the same sky, testing sensors, discipline, and nerve without ever pulling the trigger. No missiles were launched, no shots fired. Yet, when the encounter ended, it was the Typhoon that held the tactical edge, in a battle fought through silence. Britain's pilot proved that true air superiority isn't always won with fire. Sometimes, it's earned through restraint and mastery of the invisible. Before we continue, where are you watching from today? Comment below. Set the stage with the renewed tension between NATO and Russia over the Baltic region. Introduce Britain's quick reaction alert QRA operations from RAF Lossiemouth and their role in intercepting Russian aircraft approaching NATO airspace. Explain the emergence of the Su-57 as Russia's fifth-generation stealth fighter and how NATO forces view it with both respect and skepticism. Highlight how the Baltic intercept corridor has become a testing ground for both technology and restraint. Detail a specific QRA scramble triggered by a radar contact near Estonian airspace. Describe the RAF Typhoon's launch sequence, coordination with NATO Air Command in UDEM, and the standard intercept procedures. Introduce the pilot, a seasoned squadron leader with prior intercept experience, and build the stakes. This is no ordinary Russian Su-27 or Tu-95 bomber. Analysts monitoring radar realize the incoming craft has a radar signature too small, too deliberate, the Su-57. As the Typhoon approaches, Russian ground control attempts to jam NATO communications. While the Su-57 maintains radio silence, the encounter becomes psychological, a duel of sensors and awareness. Both pilots know the rules: no engagement, no provocation. But the Su-57 begins maneuvering closer, testing radar response and the Typhoon's ability to track it. The RAF pilot must rely on instinct and limited data to hold his position without escalating. The sky turns into a quiet battlefield of wits. On paper, the contest seemed uneven. The Russian Su-57, with its stealth shaping, composite skin, and internal weapons bays, promised invisibility. It boasted thrust vectoring engines for tight turns and an advanced radar system designed to deceive enemy sensors. Yet the Eurofighter Typhoon, though not stealthy, wielded a different advantage: awareness through connectivity. Linked to NATO's radar grid and supported by AWACS surveillance aircraft, the Typhoon could see beyond its own horizon. Falcon 1 used his aircraft's pirate infrared search and track system, locking onto the Su-57's heat signature without emitting a radar pulse. The Su-57 attempted to break contact through electronic masking, but every maneuver left subtle traces: shifts in exhaust temperature, engine modulation, and flight pattern. The Typhoon's sensors captured it all, building a picture invisible to radar yet clear to the pilot's instincts. This was the new face of air combat: data versus deception. The Typhoon didn't need to outfly the Su-57, it needed only to outthink it. With every silent adjustment, Falcon 1 proved that composure and information dominance could neutralize even stealth. In modern skies, control belonged not to the one unseen but to the one who saw everything. For several tense minutes the two jets flew in parallel, the Typhoon holding steady, the Su-57 weaving just beyond visual range. Both pilots knew the rules: observe, don't provoke. Yet, the air was electric with unspoken intent. Then, without warning, the Su-57 edged closer, drifting into the Typhoon's shadow. Falcon 1 didn't flinch. He stayed on passive sensors, wings level, transmitting no radar pulse, a message of quiet confidence. After a moment that felt longer than it was, the Su-57 broke away, rolling left and descending toward Kaliningrad airspace. Command confirmed withdrawal, contact lost. The Typhoon never fired, never even locked on. But in the eyes of NATO analysts, that restraint was the victory. The RAF pilot had held the encounter without escalation, forcing the Su-57 to disengage on its own terms. Back at base, the debrief was brief and calm, just another successful intercept logged on paper. But everyone present understood the subtext. Britain's Typhoon had stared down Russia's stealth flagship and won by discipline, not aggression. 3 days later, the calm shattered again. NATO radar screens lit up with multiple contacts rising from Kaliningrad to confirmed Su-57s, escorted by Su-35s. This wasn't a routine patrol. The formation flew a deliberate path along NATO's air boundary, broadcasting confidence, even challenge. Britain's QRA response was immediate. Two Typhoons from Lossiemouth, joined by Swedish Gripens under joint command, accelerated eastward. The encounter unfolded at high altitude over international waters. The Su-35s acted as decoys, drawing attention, while the Su-57s maneuvered further north, shadowing NATO's interceptors for the RAF pilots. It was clear, this was a coordinated display, a probe, not an attack. The Typhoons maintained strict discipline, never activating radar locks, relying instead on infrared and AWACS guidance. Despite Russian attempts to bait a response, NATO's formation held steady, synchronized across multiple nations. For the second time, the Su-57s eventually withdrew, leaving analysts intrigued and unsettled. The message was unmistakable: Russia wanted to be seen. But Britain's restraint once again denied escalation, asserting dominance not through confrontation, but through composure. The silent chess game above the Baltic had only deepened. The next intercept came under clouded skies, cold and still, the kind of silence that precedes a test of nerve. NATO radar tracked a lone Su-57 flying higher than before, cutting directly toward the Baltic air boundary. This time, the Typhoon pilot was instructed to shadow from a distance and avoid active radar at all costs. The Su-57's movements were deliberate, almost taunting, as if inviting the British jet to blink first. Falcon 1 used his infrared system to trace the Felon's faint thermal outline. The Su-57 abruptly banked left, then dove, forcing the Typhoon to follow a dance of precision without aggression. Yet, in a calculated maneuver, the Typhoon gained position behind the Su-57's 6 o'clock, tracking it silently through NATO radar feeds. It was an unspoken reversal. The hunter had become the hunted. Both aircraft held formation for nearly a minute before the Su-57 broke off and retreated east. No weapons locked, no words exchanged, but within NATO's command. The message was clear. The Typhoon had achieved sensor dominance. Britain's pilot had outmaneuvered Russia's stealth fighter, not by force but by patience, precision, and unshakable control. The incident prompts quiet discussion in defense circles. Russian state media praises the Su-57's presence. NATO reports simply note successful intercepts behind the headlines. Analysts confirm that the Typhoon's systems gathered invaluable data on the Su-57's radar emissions intelligence, worth far more than a dogfight. The RAF pilot receives classified commendation. Reflect on the nature of modern air power, information dominance over kinetic engagement. Explore how the encounter illustrates NATO's preference for measured control and Russia's reliance on perception warfare. Discuss how victory without firing has become the new standard of deterrence, where composure and awareness define superiority. Project Forward, Britain's upcoming Tempest program, Russia's continued Su-57 modernization, and how near-peer encounters are shaping the doctrine of digital warfare. Conclude with a reflection that the sky over the Baltic remains the same: vast, cold, and full of unseen duels where silence often speaks louder than any missile.